Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Alright, and welcome to the GSMC Football Podcast. This episode is brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network, and as always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. Alright, got a bit of a slow news day going on today. Alright, we talked about Terrell Owens yesterday, Julian Edelman and all that. Today, we're going to get into the more analysis side of things. We're going to be talking about the Rams, their expectations for the season and all for the first segment. All right. Kevin White, we're going to be talking about him. If you don't remember who Kevin White is, I don't blame you. But nonetheless, he's the guy who got drafted in 2015 by the Bears. I think he was, the 7th pick that year. All right. So we're going to be talking about him, trying to get back on the field for the Bears. I mean, he's only played 5 games in the last 3 seasons, so we'll be talking about that. Also looking at that draft class. And we'll be talking about a few other teams also, okay, for today's show. So that's what's going on today. Let's just get it started. Let's talk about the Rams. All right. The Rams, obviously, last year made the playoffs, went from pretty much 0 to hero one year after another. All right. Offense was looking great. Jared Goff was playing well. Todd Gurley was having a very good year, probably the best year of his career so far. I think it was his 3rd year, too. Okay, Robert Woods was seemingly a monster at home. Not really much on the road. Okay, you watch Robert Woods on the road, you're like, this guy plays in the NFL. No, it's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but nonetheless, yeah, like I said, he was playing well at home. And then you had a Rams defense who I would say was top 5 in the league. Okay? And I think there was a lot of good defenses out there this past year, I think. Jacksonville's, Minnesota's, LA's, San Diego's was very underrated but very good. Philly's, New Orleans had a very good defense. All right. Let's see who else was solid on the defensive side of the ball. So you had New Orleans. I already mentioned Minnesota. It might be just the top defenses right there, to be honest. Seattle's took a step back. Denver's took about 1,000,000 steps back. Like I said, Jacksonville had a very solid defense. I guess there's actually only 7 really good defenses out there last year, but I guess that's pretty good, seemingly enough. All right, but nonetheless, like I said, the Rams had a very good defense, played well. All right, ended up making it to the playoffs and losing to the Atlanta Falcons, okay, in the wild card round. I think that was a pretty easy game to pick right there, just given the fact that, I mean, it seems like this entire Rams team never really made it to the playoffs, whereas the Falcons just got done losing a Super Bowl to the Patriots the year before. Okay. But nonetheless, now moving into the offseason, it's pretty much what can the Rams do to improve. Okay. And when you ask them that question, like, we could do this, we could do that, we could do this, we'll also do that, and we'll do that also. That's basically all it was there. Added so many top players to positions of need. Okay, we need help in the secondary. What do? Let's add Aqib Talib. Let's add Marcus Peters. Boom. All right. We don't necessarily need too much defensive line help, but let's add Ndamukong Suh. All right. How about we put that guy up there with Aaron Donald? Boom. Done. Okay. Let's see. Maybe we need a number 1 receiver. What do we do there? Let's trade for Brandon Cooks. Boom. Done. Okay. This team added Brandon Cooks and Ndamukong Suh, Marcus Peters, and Aqib Talib. Same Aqib Talib, who was a shutdown corner on one of the best defenses all time in Denver. Okay, the same Marcus Peters, who I believe has led the league in turnovers forced since 2015, the year he came into the draft. Okay, he came into the league, I should say. Also the same year that Kevin White got drafted, who we'll be talking about next. Okay, you got probably one of the best defensive linemen in the league, if not the best. And by the way, I mean, if he's not the best, then you already do have the best in Aaron Donald. All right, it's a bit ridiculous. But nonetheless, that is a lot of firepower added to one team. Okay, we've seen teams like the Eagles try to do that. We've seen teams like the Dolphins try to do that, meaning trying to win the offseason, trying to add the big money free agents and all, and hoping it works out. Usually, more times than not, it never works out. So what's the difference between this Rams team and those other teams? The difference is, okay, let me tell you. Pull up a chair and I will share. Okay. Those Dolphins teams and those Eagles teams that added tons of free agents and a ton of big name players weren't good already. Okay. They were bad teams. They were trying to add these free agents to make them better, to make them good. Whereas you got a Rams team here who, of course, added 4 big-name players, but nonetheless just made the playoffs, okay, won their division, and these guys weren't brought in to save the team, okay? You could have took all these guys off, and they'd still be fine. They'd still be the favorites in that division, okay? Take away Peters, take away Talib, take away Cooks, take away Sue. They're still the favorites in that division. All right, that division I think is going to be pretty good, but the 49ers aren't there yet. The Seahawks seemingly are a confused bunch, and then you get the Cardinals who could be surprised, who could surprise some people. Okay, but nonetheless, yeah, they would have been division favorites either way. All right, and I think the difference too with this team is that they weren't just adding a bunch of different people, but nonetheless, they had needs in the secondary. They had a need at wide receiver, and they added players there. They didn't just bring guys. Like, the only luxury pickup I think I saw from them was the Ndamukong Suh one. Okay, you didn't necessarily need Sue, but nonetheless, you could go out and get him, so you got him. All right, and as far as how they stack up with the rest of the teams in the NFL, I'd say that right now the Rams are probably the most complete team in the NFL. Okay, as far as top to bottom. They got a great coaching staff, good quarterback, great running back, great receivers, okay, and a great defense. They're all set. And now it's just a matter of figuring out expectations for this team, okay? And I'd say that Super Bowl or bust is probably the expectation for this team right now. But it's a point where we got to remember this team is still really young. And, of course, they did add Talib, they did add Peters, they did add Cooks, and they did add Sue. But, I mean, I think they still maybe got a couple of ways to go. I don't know. There's just something about that team where I think they're going to be very good. I think that they are going to win a Super Bowl probably within the next 6 years. But it's just for this season, I haven't really bought in yet. Okay? And maybe that's just a point where I'm seeing them out all these guys I'm afraid to. But there's just something about this team where I think it's missing. And I'm not sure exactly what it is. I'm not sure if it's more time that's missing that they need, or if it's just one where, I don't know, there's just something missing about this team, and that's why I haven't really bought in yet. Okay? Like, on paper, boom, should be the best team in the NFL. But, of course, like they say, we don't play on paper. All right, and do I trust them more than I trust a team like the Saints, Vikings, or Eagles? I don't think so, as far as to deliver on expectations. Okay? If I had to go out and look, and it's the Saints versus the Rams in the NFC title game, I'd pick the Saints. If it was the Rams or the Eagles, I'd pick the Eagles. If it was the Rams or Vikings, I might pick the Rams on that one. Okay, but there's just something about this team where I just haven't been able to buy in yet. And I'm not sure exactly what it is. Okay, because they should win their division easily. They should sweep San Francisco. Okay, if not split, maybe at home and home. I think they will sweep Arizona and they will sweep Seattle. Okay, so I got this Rams team being very good. And is this a team who can go out and win 14 games? Possibly. Okay. Is this a team who can maybe go 15-1? Possibly. All right, they are that good. But it's just a point where, I don't know. Maybe I'm starting to talk myself into them now. And that's just how sports go. Sometimes one way you're leaning the other way. The next time you're leaning the other way. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, expectations I feel for this team are, is it Super Bowl or bust? I think it has to be, just given all the pieces that they added. Okay. This is a win now team. Yeah, this is definitely a win now team that they built. So expectations for this year definitely got to be Super Bowl or bust. Will they be able to deliver? I'm not entirely sure. Okay, but nonetheless, this team should make the playoffs and they should win at least one playoff game this season. Anything other than that, and it's a complete disappointment. You don't go out and add those 4 guys expecting to maybe compete in the future. You're adding those guys so you can go out and win now. All right? And whether or not those new faces will hurt the team, I don't think so, just given, like I said, they already had a decent team. Actually, already had a very good team. All right? Plus, I'm very curious to see how Jared Goff does in year 3. Like I said, year 1 looked terrible. Year 2 looked great. Year 3, let's see which one is it going to be. All right? And same with Todd Gurley. He's looked great in his rookie year, looked bad in his second year, and his third year he looked pretty good, or looked great also. We'll see what he can do this year. And also, he's going to be up for an extension pretty soon, so we'll see what ends up going on there. But nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears and Kevin White, so stay tuned for that. Also going to take a little deeper look at the 2015 draft class and see really how Kevin White doesn't stack up well against them. See if there's any other duds in that draft class. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. We spent that first segment talking about, what did we talk about? We talked about the Rams and their expectations. All right. I mean, you'd think that with the guys they added, it is Super Bowl or bust for that team, given that you don't add guys like that to win in the future. You add them to win now. So I'd say that, yeah, expectations are Super Bowl or bust, but I'm not too sure that they're going to end up getting there. Okay. As good as they look, there's just something about this team where I just can't buy in right now. As for their future, yeah, I do see them as Super Bowl champions, but as far as this year, I'm not sure. There's just something about that team that I can't trust, or just something's missing. So I'm not entirely sure. All right. But nonetheless. Okay. Now, we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears and Kevin White. All right. Kevin White has basically been Greg Oden, the Greg Oden of the NFL. Okay. Obviously, Greg Oden, heading over to the NBA real quick, was in the draft with Kevin Durant. Portland had the first pick, and took Greg Oden over Kevin Durant. And then they take like Sam Bowie or whatever his name is over Michael Jordan too. Yeah, Portland not really that great of a team as far as drafting. All right. But nonetheless, they take Greg Oden, and of course, we all know the story. Greg Oden pretty much spends his entire career injured. Never really gets a true opportunity. That's why I call Kevin White the new Greg Oden. All right. Kevin White has athletic ability. He probably could end up being a very good receiver for the Bears. But the problem is the dude can't stay on the field. Okay? At all. Let me pull up his career stats over 3 seasons. Okay? And we'll see exactly what Kevin White has produced for this Bears team. And it's not necessarily Kevin White's fault. I mean, no one goes out there and is like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get injured today. All right, obviously. So we can't really put the blame on him too much. So, got drafted in 15, missed that entire season. 16 comes and plays 4 games, catches 19 passes, 187 yards, no touchdowns, gets hurt. 2017, 1 game, 2 receptions, 6 yards, gets hurt. Okay? The guy just seemingly hasn't been able to get out of his own way as far as injuries. Okay? 2015 makes the physically unable to perform list. All right. October 5th, 2016 gets placed on IR. September 12th, 2017, Kevin White gets placed on IR. All right. And it's just now he's supposed to be healthy and all. But it's a point where does he have anything left to give, given his injuries? Okay. And they're all lower body leg injuries too, I believe. All right. And actually, 2017, it was his collarbone. Let's see. Let's look at his injury history. All right. And that's crazy how they got all this out there. Let's see. So 2015, he fractured his left tibia. Let's see, he missed his entire rookie season there. Yeah, so he fractured his left tibia in 2015. 2016, he fractures his fibula. Okay. Which, let's see, spiral fracture of the fibula and a severe high ankle sprain. And then he broke his collarbone back in 2017. So the dude has 2 leg injuries and a shoulder injury. Obviously, not great. Okay? But more now. Seems like he's finally healthy. Okay? And now he's trying to build himself a career. And that's going to be tough given that the Bears brought in Allen Robinson, drafted Anthony Miller, and signed Taylor Gabriel. Okay. There's not really much of a spot left for Kevin White, but I figure that if he's healthy and he could stay on the field, he could maybe possibly find himself on the Bears for the near future. Because let's not forget, he was a top 10 pick. Okay, he was a top 10 pick for a reason. Obviously, the Bears thought he had talent. And I guess, too, I mean, the only thing that's really tough for him as far as being with this Bears team is that there's a new regime. Okay. New coaches and all. But nonetheless, if he can go out there and show exactly the kind of player that he was back in college with West Virginia, then I think he could find himself a spot on this team. Okay. But I mean, fact of the matter is, obviously, it's going to be tough when you fracture 2 different bones in your leg and you fracture your collarbone. All right. But nonetheless, I think it is something he could do. And obviously, I mean, it's something that could help the Bears. The last few years, they've had problems at wide receiver, obviously, given Kevin White's been gone and all. But nonetheless, all right, he could be a plus. Now that you got Robinson, Gabriel, and Miller. Okay, let's say that Kevin White comes out and plays about as well as you can. You got 4 pretty solid receivers, I'd say. 2 of them we know will be good, I think, in Gabriel and Robinson. We still got to wait for Anthony Miller. All right, obviously, since he's a rookie. But nonetheless, the Bears could have a nice little problem on their hands given if Kevin White goes out and plays well. All right. Because he's a quick receiver who can go up and get it. And obviously, I mean, there's no shortage of those in the league. But I mean, looking at his 2015 draft class, see how they turned out. That was the year where you had Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota going 1 and 2. I'd say that their careers have turned out pretty well so far. Dante Fowler went number 3 to the Jags. Ended up missing his rookie season, but nonetheless came back, played well the next. Amari Cooper, first receiver taken off the board. Amari Cooper's he's had a weird NFL career so far in his first 3 seasons. Okay? Has shown that he could be a very good receiver in this league. Built like a top 5 receiver, but nonetheless does not know how to catch the ball. All right, then you got Kevin White taken at number 7. Obviously the second receiver off the board. Not necessarily, I don't know. Not great, obviously. Vic Beasley going 8 to the Falcons. He's done pretty well. Eric Flowers at number 9 to the Giants. All right, then Todd Gurley. Trey Waynes, who's built himself a nice little spot up in that secondary over Minnesota. Danny Shelton didn't even play for the Browns anymore. Devontae Parker, number 14 to the Dolphins. They passed on Melvin Gordon. Guy like Marcus Peters. Devontae Parker hasn't really played well. So, I mean, the first 3 receivers haven't really had the best of careers so far. Okay, obviously Cooper has been good, but last year he had a real terrible year. Obviously Kevin White and Devontae Parker have just seemingly underperformed with their expectations. Nelson Aguilar going number 20 to the Eagles. First few years didn't really look good. They put him in the slot last year and he looks great. So I guess the final judgment on him is it's to be determined, I should say. Let's see, we have Rashad Perriman over in Baltimore. Talk about a guy who's been injured. All right, Rashad Perriman, I don't even think we've seen Rashad Perriman yet with the Ravens. Okay. And let me see. That's another guy who has just been seemingly on the IR list constantly. All right. Let me see if I can find Rashad Perriman's injuries. Like 2016, he caught 33 passes, 499 yards. Didn't play 2015. 2017 only caught 10 passes for 77 yards. Has really struggled to, I guess, just make himself a mainstay on this team. All right. And let me look at Rashad Perriman's injury history. Let's see. Rashad Perriman back in 2015. Let's see. Had a PCL sprain. Tore it. Also, 2016 ACL sprain. 2017 had a hamstring strain. And then you got a concussion also later on in 2017. So he just really hasn't been able to stay on the field here. And I think this draft class, as far as the wide receivers go, might be a bit cursed. Then you got Philip Dorsett getting picked 29th. He's on the Patriots. He hasn't really done much in his career. So it's like, what, 5 receivers taken? You got Cooper, White, Parker, Perriman, Aguilar, and Dorsett. So I think that's, what, 6? Yeah, so it's about 6 receivers taken in the first round. Only one of them has really had much of a NFL career so far. Let's look at the second round, see what receivers got taken there. All right. Devin Smith of the Jets, nah. Dorial Green-Beckham, Tennessee, not great. Okay. Devin Funchess got taken by the Panthers 2015. He's been pretty good. I think he's done well as a second-round receiver. Let's see. How about the third round? And this wide receiver draft class is looking pretty weak. All right. Let's go to round 3, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Round 3, Tyler Lockett. We're just pretty much a special teams return guy. Jalen Strong, no. Chris Conley for the Chiefs, Sammy Coates for the Steelers, nothing really. Ty Montgomery, he's a running back now. And we can go through this whole thing. We might just have to. I mean, this isn't an all-time worst receiver class, but it's a pretty bad one. Okay. Jamison Crowder turned out pretty well, drafted in the 4th round by the Redskins. I'll say that's a pretty decent pick right there. Okay, Justin Hardy of the Falcons, a return specialist, if anything. Vince Mayo got drafted by the Browns in round 4. No idea who that is. DeAndre Smelter, drafted by the 49ers. So now we're getting to the draft picks where, it's a late round pick. It's going to be tough. Let's go round 5. This is actually very interesting to do. Rashad Green gets taken by the Jaguars. There's nothing there. Stephon Diggs got taken in the 5th round. We found the best receiver of this draft. All the way over here in the 5th round by the Vikings. Okay. So yeah, definitely the best player, best wide receiver in this draft so far has been Stephon Diggs. He got taken with the 146th pick by the Vikings. So he actually turned out pretty good. All right. Tony Lippett was a receiver. He's a cornerback now. J.J. Nelson's been pretty decent for the Cardinals. Kenny Bell got drafted by the Bucks. No clue who that is. Keith Humphrey drafted by the Texans. That didn't work out. Round 6. Let's see. What we got going on? Round 6. Yeah, this is just a bunch of guys who got cut or either made the practice squad here. So this is a really bad draft class. I would say so myself. All right. Yeah, there's no gems after round 5. So as far as this draft class, I mean, amongst the other receivers, Kevin White doesn't really fallen off too much. It's just these other guys have just been really bad. I'd say that it goes Diggs, then Cooper, and I guess Parker as far as being the best receivers out of this draft class. But even then, so I don't feel too Funchess, I'd say, has been better than Parker. So yeah, that 2015 draft class is pretty weak. All right, but nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Next up, we're going to be talking about, the Gronk trade rumors have come up. I don't think there's anything really to it. I think it's just more so rumors being started, but nonetheless, we'll talk about all of that. So stay tuned, and I will be right back.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked about Kevin White and that brutal 2015 wide receiver draft class. We also talked about the LA Rams. I almost called them St. Louis, but nonetheless, now we're going to head over to New England once again, as we've done probably for a while, last couple weeks. But nonetheless, okay, the Rob Gronkowski trade rumors once again surfaced today. I don't think there was much behind them or anything like that. More so just a bunch of rumors and all. But nonetheless, they surfaced, and we talk about it when they do. Okay? And with Rob Gronkowski, I mean, obviously it doesn't seem like the Patriots are going to be trading him anytime soon or anything like that. But obviously that's something that you got to think about, right? Okay? You're paying him a lot of money and all, but there's a point where, at least from what the Patriots have shown us, that it's something to look into. Okay? Because fact of the matter is, the Patriots have always been a team where they don't hold on to guys too long. They get rid of them probably a year early. All right? They don't want to be stuck with the guy who's not producing. And I don't necessarily think that Gronk is anywhere near that part of his career, but like I said, it's a point where the guy's getting injured year after year, and it's costing you more to keep him off the field than it is on. All right? But like I said, I don't see them trading him today, like how it's been going down or anything like that as far as the rumors. But I mean, let's look into it as far as, would it make sense for the Patriots to trade Rob Gronkowski? I say no. Okay, even if he is hurt. I understand the whole get him out before they're here too long type of thing. But there's a point of, yeah, that sounds nice and all. But also, like I said, I mean, if you trade Gronk, what do you have on that offense besides Tom Brady? Because Tom Brady's got to throw to someone. Okay, and I'll tell you this much. Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, and all those other guys they got there do not carry the same weight as a Rob Gronkowski on that offense. Okay, you can get rid of Julian Edelman, you can get rid of Chris Hogan or whatnot. That's not going to affect the wins or losses aspect of your team. All right, we talked about it yesterday. Julian Edelman's going to be suspended for 4 games this season, the first 4 games, and it's just like, it doesn't matter. Okay? But nonetheless, looking at Rob Gronkowski's career, came into the league in 2010, caught 42 passes, 546 yards, 10 touchdowns in his rookie year. His second year, he catches 90 passes, over 1,300 yards, 17 touchdowns. 2012, plays 11 games, catches 55 passes, 790 yards, 11 touchdowns. 2013, plays only 7 games, catches 39 passes, 592 yards, 4 touchdowns. 2014, he plays 15 games, only starts in 10 of them, catches 82 passes for over 1,100 yards, 12 touchdowns. 2015, plays 15 games, starts 15 games, catches 72 passes, over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns. And then the last 2 years, 2016, he only played in 8 games, started 6 of them, 25 receptions, 540 yards, 3 touchdowns. And then this past year, it was a bit of a down year for Gronk. Played 14 games, only 69 passes, over 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. Okay? So obviously, looking at it, his biggest problem has been staying on the field. He's only had 2 seasons where he played 16 games, 1 season where he started all 16. The most games that he started since that 2011 year where he played in 16 and started 16 was back in 15, where he played in 15 and started 15. All right, 2017, he starts in 14. He played in 14, started in 14. So obviously, like I said, biggest problem with him has been the fact that he can't stay on the field. Okay. And with Gronkowski, I mean, it's a point where I don't think they're really in a position to trade him right now. Okay. Their offense is pretty weak. Obviously, when you got Gronk out there, it's going to look a whole lot better than what it actually is. But I'd say if you take Gronk away from that offense, then there's no real production there. That's truly going to test Brady. Okay. But nonetheless, like I said, with the rumors coming out and all, I wanted to just talk about it briefly and all. All right. And I mean, trading Rob Gronkowski, what do you think his value is realistically? Okay, because you got a tight end who has been in the league since 2010, so not long, I guess. He's played about 8 years so far. All right. Has been injured more so than not. And has given retirement thought the last couple of years. Okay. Are you really going to give up a high pick for that? I'd say that Gronk isn't really worth a first-round pick right now. Okay, even though he is probably, for me, the greatest tight end of all time. I'd say that the most I'd give for Gronk is a second-round pick. All right, and I wouldn't give multiple second-round picks for Rob Gronkowski either. Maybe like a second and then a fourth, or maybe a second and a fifth, possibly. Okay. And obviously, I mean, it just seems that the Gronk rumors each year get a little bit warmer and warmer, meaning that it seems we're getting closer and closer to him eventually getting traded. Okay. But like I said, I mean, I don't see it happening now or anytime soon. The Patriots really aren't in a position to do so. All right, once you trade Gronk, you pretty much take away all the big-time production from your offense. We all know that that's Brady's go-to. And like I said, it's just Edelman. Like, you trade Gronk, and you're trotting out Edelman, Hogan, Braxton Berrios, Jordan Matthews, whoever, that doesn't really sound like a very dominant offense, even with Tom Brady. All right, I understand that Tom Brady makes a lot of the players out there better, but there's a point where he's not going to be able to. I mean, he could, honestly, if you think about it, but there's no way that he turns those guys into a top offense. All right, you do actually need some firepower out there, some guy with some ability already, and that's Rob Gronkowski. All right. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all plays out again. I just wanted to talk about this, just given that the trade rumors once again sparked up. I mean, I woke up today, and I'm searching through social media, and you see Gronk's name's trending and all. And you're just like, wait, you're trying to find the source of it. And it just seems that this rumor that came out today was more so just either a made-up one or one with some merit, but obviously just shot down, maybe. I don't know. All right. But nonetheless, yeah. You're seeing it, and you're like, wait, are they really going to trade Gronk? And it seemed like this was actually going to go down, too. All right, you even had some top writers and all that talking about it, but nonetheless, it seems now the Patriots, the PR released a statement saying that it's all untrue and all. So nonetheless, still good to talk about Gronkowski trade rumors, because I would not put it past Belichick at all to get rid of Gronk. All right. But like I said, as far as the whole, I mean, you don't want to keep a player too long or whatnot, Gronk's might be one of those exceptions. Okay, and it's like I said, Gronk's not really losing ability, it's just he's losing availability where he's not on the field constantly with this team. And maybe Belichick's trying to get ahead of that, knowing that Gronk's contract's up in a couple years. Or I think Gronk could possibly get out of it after this year. All right, and plus, too, like I said, Gronk's been mulling retirement, at least it seems, the last couple of years. Sounds like a guy that's not too certain about his future, and obviously the Patriots have been a team where they're going to try and get the most for their players. All right. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. I mean, as far as if I had to put my money on, would Gronk get traded this season by the Pats? I don't see that happening. Like I said, there's too much at stake with Gronk. You're trying to win a Super Bowl before Brady retires and all within these next few seasons. So I think you do got to keep Gronk around, especially considering the fact that it seems Brady has a say in what goes on over in New England, I think. All right. So it'll be very interesting to see how he plays, how often he's going to be able, how available he's going to be for the team this season. Is he going to be able to stay on the field constantly, or is there going to be one where, I mean, you're pretty much Gronk's hurt again? Is he going to be back by playoff time type of thing? All right. So we'll see what ends up going down, but nonetheless, just wanted to mention that. Next up, we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of football. We could be talking about a certain team, any news, or anything that's come out. So stay tuned for that, and I will be right back.
Check out the show built around the women of MMA. From the UFC to the extreme cage fighting, we got the fights covered.
Listen.
It's the Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast. The latest news of upcoming fights, discussions of previous matches. Join us as we talk to and about the biggest names in women's mixed martial arts, past, present, and future. When it's the women's fight game, you know where to listen to. The Golden State Media Concepts Women's MMA Podcast.
All right, and welcome back to the GSMC Football Podcast. So far today, we've talked Rob Gronkowski. We've talked, let's see, what do we start off with today? We talked about the Rams, and we also talked about Kevin White. All right, now we're going to be talking about anything else going on in the world of football, anything that crosses my mind as far as the game itself. So let's get into it. We still got a lot of notable free agents left out there. Dez Bryant, guys like Eric Decker. Okay. DeMarco Murray still left. Believe it or not, guys like Alfred Morris. Let's see, Antonio Gates, but I think Antonio Gates is just done. Navarro Bowman's still out there, but Navarro Bowman's also pretty old. All right. But let's see what else we got. Who else is left out there? Kenny Vaccaro. Let's see. Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. Like I said, Eric Decker. Jeremy Maclin also still out there. And then Des Bryant. Okay. Like I said. And are we surprised that Des Bryant still hasn't found a team? Okay. Like, are we truly? And I'd say that I am, but maybe it's just because I possibly just overvalue Des Bryant a bit as a receiver. I don't think that teams out there probably have the same mindset as me. Okay, because obviously Bryant has looked pretty bad the last couple of years since Dak Prescott has taken over. That might be due to the foot injury that he had a few years back. All right. But nonetheless, I think Des Bryant still is a guy who could go out and still produce. Okay, I don't think he's done or anything like that. And when you're seeing guys like Brandon Marshall get picked up before him, I think that is a little concerning. Okay. But also, too, I mean, the thing with Brandon Marshall getting picked up before Des Bryant is Des Bryant's going to be a little bit more expensive than Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall, all the Seahawks really had to pay him was a $2 million minimum or maximum deal. All right. And I don't even think all of that is guaranteed. Okay. But nonetheless, as far as Des Bryant, I mean, there's not too many wide receiver needy teams right now. Okay. And the ones who might need one, I'm sure are going to wait till training camp to see exactly what they got at that position. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, I don't think the Cowboys are really hurting because they don't have Des Bryant there anymore. And I think Des Bryant's the one who's really hurt because of it. And speaking of the Cowboys, I mean, this is going to be a very weird year for Dallas, I feel. Dallas could either be very good and make the playoffs, or due to the difficult NFC out there, they could finish 8-8, 7-9, even possibly. Okay. And I think with the Cowboys, it's just a matter of how well Ezekiel Elliott plays, or how well, not even that. I think we all know Ezekiel Elliott's going to go out there and do well. It's more so, I guess, how Dak Prescott does. Okay, and also that defense can hold up. Dak Prescott last year was very underwhelming, I'll say. Okay, I understand that he was without Zeke Elliott and all that for 6 games. But nonetheless, if you're a good quarterback, you'll still play like it even without your star receiver. All right, and let's see. Compared to his rookie year, I think all of his numbers pretty much just dropped. All right, his rookie year, he goes 13-3, 68% completion percentage, over 3,600 yards, 23 touchdowns, only 4 picks. So obviously, you saw in his rookie year, which we usually don't see with these kind of rookie quarterbacks, is that they're not normally accurate. You're going to see their interception numbers pretty up. Okay, so after a great year like that, next year they go 9-7. Obviously, like I said, Ezekiel Elliott was out for 6 of those games. Completes only 63% of his passes, throws for 3,300 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 13 picks. All right. Took a huge step back compared to his rookie year as far as everything. The completion percentage, the yards, touchdowns remained about the same, and then the interceptions went up. Okay. And I'm not going to put too much into his second season, just considering the fact that most rookies do tend to have a down year in their second year compared to their first. Now that you got film and all that on them. Okay. But nonetheless, as far as this season, I mean, you got a team in your division who obviously just won the Super Bowl and I think are still the favorites in your division to win that division. You also got a Giants team who went, what was it, 12-14, 4-12, something like that, something bad, where they got better, adding Saquon Barkley. You're going to be getting Odell Beckham Jr. back. Evan Ingram pretty much had a little breakout season last year with everyone out. And also you got a Sterling Shepard, who is a very good number 2 receiver. And also a defense who I think is going to take a big step up compared to last year. All right. Not to mention, you do have a team in Washington where no one's really talking too much about them. I feel people just figure they're going to be a real bad team. I don't see it. I think Washington's going to be real decent. All right, I do like Alex Smith. I do think he is a top 10 quarterback, and I think he is number 10. Go ahead and look back to my quarterback rankings on yesterday's show. But nonetheless, they're going to be better too. Okay, so you got 4 teams in the NFC East are going to be really solid, including the Cowboys. And then you got an NFC division or NFC conference where, I mean, there's not necessarily one team I look at and I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to be very bad. Okay, I feel like all these teams are on their way trending up. So it's going to be real interesting to see what exactly Dallas ends up doing this season. All right, I mean, it's going to be tough to split amongst their division rivalries. All right, so let's say right out the bat from the division they go 3-3. Okay, then you still got to play a team like Carolina at home, Seattle at home. You got to play a team like the Lions, who's going to be tough. You got to play the AFC South, which also is going to be a real tough division. All right, you got the Falcons in Atlanta. I mean, their schedule isn't necessarily something too easy. All right, you start off with the Panthers in Carolina, then the Giants at home on Sunday night, where you've seemingly struggled year after year. Then the Seahawks week 3, the Lions week 4, the Texans in Houston week 5. Then after you play the Houston Texans, you got to play one of the best defenses in the league in Jacksonville. Then a rivalry game against the Redskins. Then you got to play the Titans, who should be a very good team. Eagles in Philly on Sunday night at Atlanta versus the Redskins versus the Saints, are going to be a very good team. Then you got the Eagles again. Then at the Colts, the Bucks. Then you finish off your season in New York against the Giants. I mean, there aren't really any pushover games there. It's all going to be something where they're going to have to work their way too. All right, and even thinking about it, I mean, given Dez Bryant's really played well the last 2 years, that's fine, but they still don't really have a number 1 receiver on that team. Maybe they're expecting Cortland Sutton, the receiver out of Colorado, to be that. All right, Colorado State, I should say, or Michael Gallup. I got them all mixed up. Michael Gallup, wide receiver out of Colorado State, to be their number 1, but even then so, I mean, it's going to be a receiver in his rookie year. It usually takes a while for those guys to develop, so we'll see what ends up happening there. All right. But nonetheless, I mean, there's not really too much else going on in the world of football right now. Okay. It's all just mini camp starting up. Of course, we had a little Rob Gronkowski trade rumor thing going on today. We talked about Kevin White today. We already covered Delvin missing 4 games. Also covered T.O. declining his Hall of Fame invitation. We talked about that yesterday, but nonetheless, I mean, people are going to forget about Terrell Owens. He's going to be a guy where no one really talks about. The media's not going to bring him around. ESPN's never going to bring him around. NFL Network, like, none of that's ever going to happen, really. All right. And Terrell Owens, I mean, this is a fitting way to end his complete NFL career as far as from the start to Hall of Fame. I mean, of course the guy's not going to show up at his own or at the enshrinement ceremony. All right. I forgot, too, they're going to be inducting Randy Moss this year also. Man, 2 of the top 3 best receivers of all time in one draft class. One will be there. One decided, nope, I don't want to. It's a wild world we live in, let me tell you. All right, but nonetheless, we're going to wrap it up here. Like I said, today we talked about the Rams, their expectations. I'd say Super Bowl or bust, but there's something about that team that I just can't buy into yet. Okay? And I think I'm getting cold feet on them because, I mean, I was already excited about them, how they're doing. There's just something about them right now. All right. Second segment, we talked about Kevin White. Is he going to be able to put it together for his 4th season, given that he's been injured for his first 3? Third segment, we talked about Rob Gronkowski, those trade rumors that came up today. I think they're false, but nonetheless, it's always fun to talk about Rob Gronkowski and trades. And then for this segment, we talked a lot about Dallas. So thanks for listening to the GSMC Football Podcast. As always, I am your host, Jesse Tapia. I will be back on Monday, so stay tuned, and I will talk to you later.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.